Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to the video. It's another paid request, this time from Efree. Actually, it's 5 reviews. He was very generous. Thank you so much for that, man. Thank you for your generosity as well as for being my friend. Now, he wanted me to review the first 5 Bloodfist movies, which I actually have some of these on DVD. Bloodfist 1 and 2, which each have their own disc. And Bloodfist 3 and 4. Now these are also on YouTube, so if you want to watch these, you can watch them on YouTube for free. That's where I saw Bloodfist 5, which was, I think there's 8 of these movies, but he wanted me to do the first 5. Now, I got these a long time ago from it was a very nice gift. I want to say it's from the Flying Ninja 1. I could be wrong. If so, I apologize. Just for my own stupidity. It's just I'm bad at remembering names and dates, and I forget my own birth if it wasn't attached to my license, driver's license. I don't know, lose it in my old age of watching too many of these shitty movies. Although these I don't think were that bad. The 5th one, but for the most part, I liked these, which I'll get into throughout these series of videos. So anyway, Efree, thank you so much. I'll be reviewing each video, the first 5 Bloodfist movies, starring Don the Dragon Wilson, this guy right here. Now, for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topic, a tier list, a review, randomness, a commentary, reaction, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now, the first Bloodfist, before I go further, the reason I haven't watched these until now, I wasn't really sure on Don the Dragon Wilson. As a kid, I was very iffy on him, iffy on his action, the way he did martial arts on the screen. I think because, number one, I'd only seen, as a kid, films like Future Kick. And from what I understand, that's actually one of his lesser efforts. I'm like, fuck this, I'd rather just go watch Cyborg or Van Damme. And I respect the guy as a kickboxing champion, but I just wasn't sure of his style. I'm like, I don't know, it didn't feel as smooth or as glamorous or as quick or as impressive style of moves compared to like Van Damme or the early Steven Seagal brutality hand to hand or the power of Dolph Lundgren, things of that nature, the speed of Jesse Pinkman's tempo. I will say as the years have gone on, I've warmed up to the guy. I really have. I remember liking Cybertracker 1 and 2. I remember not minding. I want to say it's Ring of Fire 2. Was kind of like Double Dragon and the Warriors met. Just like a group of people going through these underground tunnels and finding gang members and bad guys. And there's like a DJ narrating their journey like the Warriors. And I said, these for the most part I had at least some amount of fun with. And I'm a sucker for these kind of movies. And like I said, the more I've seen Don the Dragon Wilson, I actually don't mind his acting. He would never be confused for Charlton Heston or Al Pacino or James Woods. But for an action star, I actually grew to like his low-key style and delivery of dialogue. And like I said, I actually don't mind him as an actor. And his martial arts, I think like in the first Bloodfist, there's some iffiness to it, some rust. It's his first time. But when I did to like Bloodfist 2, I thought that was a lot better. And even Bloodfist 3. And this is one of those series that I do think some of the sequels are better than the first one. Now, of course, Bloodfist was made because success of films like Bloodsport. I mean, the title itself. And the plot is almost a little similar to Kickboxer. Although Kickboxer came out in '89 as well, so these were done with Concord. These were done with New Horizons. These were done with Roger Corman producing these. In fact, he produced pretty much all of these, from what I gathered. Yeah, even Bloodfist 4, produced by Roger Corman. And it's like, hey, if they keep making money, I'll keep making them. I'll keep producing them. Again, go from Concord, the New Horizons, so forth. And she got 8 of these movies. Now, the funny thing is that even though there's 8 of them, for the most part, they have nothing to do with each other other than they're called Bloodfist and they star Don the Dragon Wilson. But, like in this film, he plays a guy named Jake. In the second film, he also plays a guy named Jake Ray, but if the events don't seem like connected to this one, because there's no reference to his brother, and it just, even though he's playing the same named guy, it seems like they're not really connected. And then in this one, get the names right. In the third one, he's playing a guy named Jimmy. In the fourth film, he's playing a guy named Danny. In the fifth one, he's playing a guy named, was actually like 2 names. I think like Mike or Jim. So it is one of those things that, I think in the 6th one, he plays a guy named Nick. And it makes you wonder why they did that. Like, if you have the same actor and you have the same company, you have the same producer, it's the same name. Okay, Bloodfist you're using because they'll sell VHS tapes because people remember the previous ones. There's a good title, Bloodfist. Why not just have it be the same character? It's not like these films are going to be, oh my god, how could the same thing happen to the same guy? Are people really going to be thinking about that with Bloodfist movies when you get to Bloodfist 6 or something? Not really. So I don't know, I just thought it was kind of a weird choice, but whatever. Now, the first Bloodfist directed by Terence Winkless, and I knew that name sounded familiar. He directed The Nest, which I believe was a Corman-produced film that is a really good creature feature. If you think it's just a killer cockroach movie, which that alone would be good enough because cockroaches are icky and you hate them. But then there's also, because of certain scientific stuff going on in the movie, bad scientists, science gone awry. There's also a hybrid that is mutated, and you get like some half human, half cockroach type of deals, and a little bit of body horror and stuff that, well, I wouldn't say it makes me think of The Thing, but that type of amalgamation of creatures. Like, the Nest is a pretty good creature feature. So interesting they got him to direct this, and he never directed another one of these again. Now, funny story about Terence Winkless. Real quick, like, there was a point where my friend Mike, OCB Communications, might have worked with the guy. Where I guess Mike had edited, I don't know if he edited stuff. And like Terrence said, hey, could you edit like a trailer for Bloodfist? He's like, sure. He took a liking to Mike and said, hey, maybe you could be like an assistant or a gopher, or like do some kind of work on a film I'm doing that I'm filming near where you live. But sadly, the star got pregnant, the movie got shut down, and then Mike never got the opportunity, so. Whenever I think of the director, I see that story is just too bad. But, Mike said he was a nice guy. So, he directs this film with Don the Dragon Wilson, which he was a kickboxing champion. And they do this thing for most of these movies where in the opening credits, if the actor or the martial artist had some kind of title, that would also be part of the credits. So Don the Dragon Wilson, world kickboxing champion. This person, judo champion or or karate champion from blah blah blah. They always give their credentials as well as the credit, so as well as their name. So that was a little different bit for the credits in these films compared to other movies and franchises. The plot of the film, it's nothing to run home about. You have this underground fighting in Manila. One guy kills another guy in the ring, and that guy is getting drunk, and someone comes up and fights him, kills him. The guy that gets killed in that alley is the half-brother of our main character, Don the Dragon Wilson, who is Jake, this guy who runs this business with this other guy named Hal, where he teaches kids about boxing and things of that nature. His buddy Hal, I swear, they try to find someone that looks like Donald Gibb from Bloodsport. Try to find someone that looks a bit like Ray Jackson. So Don the Dragon Wilson, he gets a phone call that his brother's been killed. He goes over to Manila. First and foremost, I thought that some of the sound effects were a bit wonky. Like in the opening fight scene, like when there's blood, there's like this squish, 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 squish sound. And like this really over-the-top sound design. Even the punches, like a lot of times I like the sound of punches. Like this one seemed a little bit over the top to almost the point of cartoonish. Pew, pew, pew. Like, it's more like the squishing sound I thought was a bit weird. Also, when Don goes overseas to get his brother's remains, they cremated the guy, and I'm like, can they do that? Like another country just be like, fuck it, yeah, we found the body, we cremated him for you, here's your urn. I'm like, are you able to do that? Like, you're not given the choice? Coffin's too expensive, here's our urn, take it or leave. I didn't want my fucking brother in a goddamn urn. Well, tough shit, he should have been in Manila. If you're dead, you don't be a bunch of ashes. And if you don't take it, I don't put it in my fucking ashtray, But it's like, no, they just, hey, you don't get any word. We'll put your brother in a fucking urn. So, of course, Don stays there to figure out what happened to his brother. He meets a few people along the way. One guy is this con artist that... This kind of seemed almost out of the blue, but it was also kind of funny as well, where Don's at a bar, and this guy, you think he's going to pick a fight with Don, but then he's like, oh, play along like I'm punching you, because he wants to get away from these guys and con these guys out of their money. And when Don, okay, and helps him out, oh, that was really great, man, hey, come stay with me. And that's where you meet the guy's sister, who does yoga stretches and is a dancer, I should say. She's a dancer. And that's going to be a bit of our love interest for Don. And a few things about this. Number one, the guy who's a con artist, the character's name is Baby Davies. I don't know about many white guys named Baby. Unless it's one of those videos where people wear the fucking diapers and they're 30. And they But Baby Davies, I thought it was a weird name for a character. And the way he acts if, all the marbles are not quite there up top. And I recognize the guy. The guy's Michael Shaner. He's the guy in Lethal Weapon, the roof jumper, who Mel Gibson goes, do you really want to jump? Do ya? That's fine with me. And he takes a guy, they jump off the roof. That roof jumper is this guy. I'm like, oh, wow, okay. So after Lethal Weapon, I guess he did a little bit of martial arts and was in this movie. Okay, then. I also find it funny later on that the guy, Don, is having sex with the sister, and the brother just passes by when they're like, hope you're doing alright. And it's like, doesn't make any... which is funny because earlier it seemed like he was adamant, angry that Don had the hots for his sister, but when he literally sees the sister with titties out on top of Don, now he's nonchalant about it. So I thought it was funny. The acting is so. Like Don the Dragon Wilson, like I said, I warmed up to his dialogue delivery. I warmed up to his acting. I would say overall, I do like his acting. I do like how he plays these characters. Again, very easygoing, low key. These, like I said, these type of films I'm a sucker for because you know how some people they love slasher films, some better, some worse. That's like me in these type of movies. You know, I love sincerely Bloodsport, Kickboxer, Cyborg, Van Damme, Deadly Outbreak, Perfect Weapon, Street Night with Jeff Speakman, Last Man Standing, Mission of Justice with Jeff Wincott, Martha Costas with Drive, and Only the Strong is Good, and other stuff. And then with this, whether least another, there's this guy named Quan who starts training Don. So he did a bit of Don trying to figure out what's going on, where this underground fighting place is at. You need to find a way to get in. I, Quan, will help you. I'll train you. They do a bit of training montage. In one bit, literally, he's punching a bag, and you realize that the bag is filled with goat shit. Because he's like, what's that smell? Goat shit. And he looks, and there's like goats out in the field. And I'm like, I did see everyone watch a martial arts movie where part of the montage is training, punching a bag of goat shit. That's Bloodfist. And I do think, honestly, I would say Bloodfist 2, 3, and 4 I liked more than the first one. Because this one, I thought that Donald Dragon Wilson is a great kickboxing champion. But there's also a different element when you're doing street fighting. And I know that a lot of these guys hate Jean-Claude Van Damme. I'm sorry, I disagree. I'm a big Jean-Claude Van Damme fan. And they go, oh, he wasn't really a fighter. I'm like, how do you know? He even has a record in karate. Those numbers didn't make up themselves, I'm sorry. There's even footage that you can see. Maybe it's that knockdown, bare knuckle brawl or kickboxing like Don, but they're still legit as well. And Van Damme knew how to use the movie, the cameras, how to make the moves look great and exhilarating on camera. I maintain Jean-Claude Van Damme is one of the best on-screen fighters. Meaning, he knows how to make a punch work, a kick work, a helicopter kick, and get that emotion, the stance, make it seem like it connects. Sometimes it would accidentally connect in real life. To really give that, and even the noise, like people have made fun of Van Damme going, wah! Which is ridiculous to me because Bruce Lee, how many times did he do the wah? You know, in Enter the Dragon, no one makes fun of that. I wouldn't because I like that shit. But a lot of people like that shit. No one, like, they'll do it, but they don't really, oh, Bruce Lee, what the fuck are you doing? But they'll do it to Van Damme. I think that's bullshit. I like both. I think they give a bit more of that exclamation point. Van Damme knew how to sell these moves for the screen. That's one of the reasons with that, and also that charisma that really helped those movies succeed. So I think at this point, Don wasn't a great on-screen fighter. Maybe Terence Winkless, I don't know if he had done action films before this. Maybe he was an issue as well. Maybe because it's a first film, so there's some roughness to it. Because there are times where punches happen, and you could tell there's a wide disconnection of it. Like, there's no way that punch would connect it. Because you see it, like, this amount of space in between. And that happens in a decent amount of this stuff. Also, when... Or in other fights, like, the kicks don't seem as smooth. They don't seem to get up as the snap. Or they just seem a bit slower. They seem like kind of the same similar moves for the most part over and over again. I do think Don got better with that. Like Bloodfist 2 is a supreme step up on that front. Like you see the way Don fights in Bloodfist 2, I'm like, wow, he improved. Like he either took notes, heard what people said, whatever the case may be, and became a better on-screen fighter from then on. But this, and maybe Future Kid was a bit of that too. I saw a bit of a bit of roughness. Do I hate the film? No. There's some funny bits in here. Like I said, the training would pay to go shit, all that stuff. It was nice to see these other martial artists in the tournament. Billy Blanks makes an appearance in this. Mr. Tybo himself, who would go on to be with Roddy Piper and Back in Action and Tough and Deadly, and would do other films, TC 2000 among others. It still has that 80s vibe that still makes it charming to watch. It's a short film that goes by at a pretty good pace, so I was never bored. I mean, even if sometimes the fists aren't, and kits aren't connected as well as they could, or even if sometimes the kits could be a bit more smoother in its rotation. I'm an action junkie. If you still have people kicking the shit out of each other, I'm going to find at least, hopefully, some bits of fun to be had. And plus, these are low budget films, Corman produced, so I guess I'm not expecting as much slickness compared to other production companies. And there's quirky stuff here and there that did make me smirk. For example, like the first guy he fights has fucking headphones on. Now, I think it would have been even more interesting if we heard the music, and maybe he's fighting with the music, and Don had to deal with that, but not the case. The one fight he has with Billy Blanks, there's really a bit that I don't think I've ever seen before in a film where they both do like a jump kick, like this, like the cover. They both do this jump kick to each other, and they both hit each other at the same time. But one gets up and one doesn't. I also thought the bit of a twist they had made it a little bit interesting, a little bit different from the norm of other movies of this type. The music was fine enough for what it had to be. By Sasha Matson. It's definitely no Kumite. But I'm a sucker for these martial art tournament type of movies or underground fighting movies. Have I seen better? Yes, Bloodsport I put above this. Best of the Best 2 with Philip Rhee I would put above Bloodfist. I didn't Bloodfist 2 I would put above Bloodfist. But it's a time waster, okay time waster to start off with. To see what Don could bring to the proceedings, to the world of action films. Like I said, there's roughness that it did get better. Like I said, some of the sound design, like when the fighter that pretty much wanted to be this movie's Bolo Yun or Ton Po, Chan Li. I forget, I think this fighter's called Chin Woo. I forget what the actor's name is. But when he fights the guy from Lethal Weapon, Baby Davies, played by Michael Shayer, this is wind sound. This, I don't know why. I don't know if that was an idea to make it more of a horror or harsher tone, but it's like the lights have dimmed a bit, and it's like, I'm like, what? Where'd all this fucking wind come from? Why is that the case? But again, the spoilers. that guy gets fucked up. He gets put into a coma, kind of like how Ray Jackson and Bloodsport got put in a coma. Only this guy doesn't get out of it. He dies in the coma. Then this girl who liked him tries to pull a gun on Chinwoo, but then he hits her and kills her. Don's been drugged during the fight, and he was drugged by his trainer. Did you find out that Kwon is also the bad guy? In fact, he was the one who killed Don's brother. And this convoluted thing where Kwon killed Don's brother because Kwon's brother was a guy Don's half-brother killed at the beginning of the film in the ring. So it's like, you know what? My brother died in the rain, so I killed your half-brother in the alley. But then I heard you were coming over, so I'm going to use you and train you. And then when you get in, I'm going to make a bet with you. And as he puts it, it's all about the money. Your honor and all that stuff, it doesn't matter. It's all about the money. So I thought that kind of change where the trainer is really the bad guy. I'm not saying it's the first one ever done in history, but not as often. Thus, it made it seem a bit new and a bit different. And then you get the fight Don has with Chinwoo, and he fucks his day up. And then you get the fight with Kwon in the rain, outside. One thing I found funny is when he's fighting Chinwoo, his buddy Hal, who they own the place in America, he's come over to find how Don is doing. And I swear he looks like they wanted to find Donald Gibb, Ray Jackson, Bloodsport. Like they couldn't get him, so they get a guy that looks similar to that. So they do this laughable slow motion, where when Don's drugged and he's looking over, he's like, he sounds like a demon on Down syndrome. He sounds like Jack, that got one, the one that drugged you. That was... It was so laughable. I'm like, you didn't need the slow motion at all. In fact, a lot of these Bloodfist films, at times they use... Well, I guess in particular this one, and maybe Bloodfist 4, I should say, a bit too much slow motion. You're not John Woo. It made me laugh, but it was a laughable bit. But yeah, I mean, would I watch the film again? Sure, if I did another watch marathon of these movies to see how it started. If you're a sucker, if you watch Bloodsport and you're like, I want to see more movies like this that might not be as slick or as polished or as good as Bloodsport, but there's still some time waster fun to be had with it. You still get your training montage. You still get your fights in the rain. Don, the more I watch him, the more I see that bit of it factor that I could see how he became a star in the direct-to-video market. At least I've warmed up to his acting. Like I say, he's not going to win awards. He's not Gene Hackman. But I like him better than a lot of other people. I like him better than Jalal Murray or Alexander Nevsky, some of these other guys. So, with that said, thanks for watching, and next I'll talk about Bloodfist 2, which I would say is actually, of the 5 I've seen, I think I've seen Bloodfist 6, but that was so long ago. I just know that was a Die Hard clone, but I don't remember much about it. But of the first 5, this is my favorite, and we'll talk about next time. So we'll see you then. Later.